What's going on, everybody? My name is Tenebrous Infinite. A lot of you dudes might remember, almost a year ago now, maybe about 8 months, something like that, I took on a apocalypse tank with the dilapidated MOLLER PP, and that was a crazy challenge. And so I was thinking today, let's ramp that up and turn things up to 10,000 here with my next challenge. And so what I'm going to be doing today is taking on a level 4 Apocalypse Harvester in Gorilla difficulty with a 1-star Brawn Ball Bat. Literally one of the weakest weapons in the game. And on top of that, a severe disadvantage as well, because I have to hit the enemies at extremely close ranges in order to utilize the Brawn Ball Bat. And then on top of that, I need to somehow manage my stamina along the way to make sure that I'm not getting absolutely destroyed the entire time with having 0 damage output. Now, unlike the last challenge, I don't really know if this one's possible. I know that max level Apocalypse Harvester is immune to EMPs, so that's gonna be a serious jam in the plan. But outside of that, I think that as long as I can heal enough and just, you know, try to manipulate the Apocalypse Harvester's AI to the best of my ability, I might be able to get through this without absolutely dying a million times. Now, on the subject of deaths, I've given myself a limit of only 20 adrenaline, so it's not like I can just death loop this enemy forever, but it is a healthy amount just because I don't know if this is possible or not. So, hopefully we won't die more than 20 times here, but let me know, how many times do you think I'm gonna die in the comments down below? Now, with the challenge premise kind of out of the way, let's start this fight. And from time to time, I'm going to chime in here and just let you dudes know what was kind of going through my head at the moment in time. So to start here, I thought it would be really smart to just kind of get behind the Harvester as best as I could and start hitting his tick pod in order to try to get rid of that, and also start hitting his gas tanks and try to destroy those, as those are kind of the easier components to actually destroy on the Harvester. Of course, due to difficulty and due to him being a rival though, it doesn't mean that this is going to be easy. Now, admittedly, one of the hardest things to deal with from this guy was actually his purple farty gas. That purple gas does an obscene amount of damage, and so monitoring how much damage that is doing while you're getting flamethrowered by hunters and also getting poisoned by ticks, it's a lot to manage all at once. Now, it was at this point that I realized I needed to trim the fat of these friggin' dang hunters a little bit. I had 2 of them raining mortars from the forest, and then I had 2 of them raining mortars and dropping flamethrowers on me at close range here. So I needed to at least get this one guy out of the way. If I just had one hunter, it would be a little bit more manageable. But of course, when you want the hunters to come to you, they don't, and when you don't want them to come to you, they do. Now, all the EMPs I brought were specifically just for dealing with the hunters and the ticks. I would throw down an EMP to destroy all the ticks in one go, and then I would use the EMPs to also kind of try to get the hunters off my back a little bit throughout this process too. But because I decided to limit myself to just small EMPs, I had to be really accurate with my tosses, and admittedly, I wasn't the most accurate with all of them. I think in hindsight, if I were to approach this challenge again, that would be one of the things that I aim for, is better use of my EMPs. Now, for some weird reason here, the game didn't recognize that I still had 15 adrenaline shots on me, chalk it up as a bug or something like that, but I decided to just keep going with the flow here until I was out of adrenaline. Now, with only one hunter bothering me, I knew that I now had the harvester in an actually really decent scenario. So I needed to take advantage of it before the other two hunters started coming back. Because as I said, I had kind of baited them off into the forest there. So, I basically decided at this point that I was going to solely focus on getting that tech pod off the harvester, so that way it would be one less thing to deal with. But again, hindsight is 2020, and admittedly getting rid of the tick pod was not the best approach, because I wound up kind of gridlining the harvester into just continuously doing a Sparty gas attack, which made the rest of this fight actually significantly more difficult. Now, removing the tick pod did do what I intended though, and it did give me one less thing to manage in the middle of this fight. So I wasn't getting damage stacked to absolute oblivion anymore, because the hunters are relentless with their flamethrower. So now, kind of in the back of my mind, I knew that I needed to take off the flamethrower from the Apocalypse Hunter, while also still doing a significant amount of damage to this harvester here. Luckily enough, going after the gas tanks was actually a really good call though, because in that position, the harvester would continuously be trying to do its really close range melee attacks. Not reliably all the time, but most of the time he would be going for that stomp attack instead of the fart attack. So it was pretty smart of me, but still, I do feel like I could do this fight a little bit better, but I kind of like giving you dudes just like my first attempt at it, because I think that you kind of get to see me really think on the spot with my combat when you see the first attempt here. Now, I equipped the gas mask because I thought maybe it would make enough of a difference for me to be able to heal buffer my way through the dang purple farty gas, but it really didn't make enough of a difference, and also I wound up taking a death in the middle of equipping it, so it was kind of a waste. Pro tip, if you're gonna take on the Apocalypse Harvester, don't worry about gas masks or gas resistance or anything like that. Just go in with enough medkits to actually get you through the fight. But throughout this fight, I had actually kind of figured out the best way to get close to the harvester without him doing the farty gas attack before you're even in range. Now, it's not 100% reliable, but I think that it was pretty good that I was able to figure this out on the fly. When he's doing his rocket pod attack, if you can close the distance between you and him, you can actually get close enough to get in behind him, and then kind of do the same thing where you're baiting out a melee attack by sitting almost directly underneath him. Now, you might notice that at this point, I'm kind of letting myself sit while I'm in the down state a little bit longer. And my intention with this is simply just trying to get that hunter away from the harvester because he was causing so many complications with the stacking damage of his flamethrower. And sadly, I couldn't kill him, because if I killed him, then the harvester would probably just wind up calling down 4 fresh new hunters, because at this point, I think that the other 2 hunters had entirely left the fight. I think that that happened around the point when I hit those 5 deaths, and the game got a little bit confused with how many adrenaline I had in my inventory. Which was actually a bit of a blessing in disguise, because it meant that I was getting less mortars actually rained down on me. But it still kind of left me in this volatile position where I couldn't quite kill the hunter, even though he was a serious pain. Now this is kind of the sweet spot that I had been going for. So now that I had removed the flamethrower from the hunter, all he could do was just do his mortar attack, which I was able to survive. And as long as I could keep him doing his mortar attack and keep the harvester just trying to stomp on me, then I could tank the mortar, heal off the damage, and continuously do damage to the harvester. This was like a really, really good strat on the fly, because it wound up working out perfectly. And after what felt like absolute ages, finally the harvester was down. And with the final hunter out of the way, we can now take our spoils, which is a red resistance bandana. It's alright. So we just barely made it through the fight with 16 deaths and I don't even know, like 300 and something medkits in total used. That was wild. But I'm proud to say that I accomplished this. I took down a level 4 Apocalypse Harvester on Gorilla difficulty with a 1 crown brown ball bat. That's pretty mental and probably the pinnacle of what you could challenge yourself with here in Generation Zero at this point in time. Unless if you included difficulty scaling, which I'm slightly considering, maybe at some point, doing something with difficulty scaling to see how hard of a challenge I could actually make here in Generation Zero. But for now, in terms of solo play, this is the most difficult thing you can do. So hopefully you all enjoyed. If you did, hit that thumbs up button, and if you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing for crazy challenges in the future, and everything else to do with Generation Zero and future systemic reaction games right here. As well, my old challenge of fighting against an Apocalypse tank with the dilapidated MOLLER will be linked in the description down below if you haven't seen that yet. But again, thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me here, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Until then, peace.